Well, here we are once again, out here in this beautiful Florida patio. We're very lucky to be here. And I saw earlier today that Stevie T had posted that he was in the Nickelback documentary that's currently in the top videos on Netflix. Now I can top Stevie T even better. He might have been in the documentary, but I was actually in a band with the first main drummer that everybody knows with Nickelback, Mr. Ryan Vikedal. And it's another great story. And, one of the cool things that I got to do with my time in Nashville. And it goes a little something like this. So, I've talked about a lot on my channel, being on tour with Colt Ford, being a sideman. And we were picked by Florida Georgia Line to be the direct support on their first tour, the cruise tour. And, those guys, they used to open for Colt Ford. And in fact, that was the first time I ever heard them. And they were very cool in that they kind of returned the favor. Colt kind of took them under his wing and gave them some shots, on the road, and brought them out during his headlining set when he was the headliner on some pretty big club gigs. And I remember the first show that we did with them. And they opened for us, and we played some packed, like a fair somewhere, and man, the venue had just completely underestimated how many people were turning out. Now, I was very lucky when I started with Colt Ford in that it was the peak of his career, because Dirt Road Anthem, which is a song that he co-wrote with Brantley Gilbert, that song had just exploded on the charts for Jason Aldean. And so that definitely helped Colt Ford in that most people knew that was originally a Colt Ford song. So when that song took off and got the airplay that it finally deserved by being recorded by Jason Aldean, man, it blew up, Colt Ford's thing. And man, we played this just insane. It was like something out of Altamont, this insane gig. And Florida Georgia Line opened. And so when it came time for those guys, and they blew up, they got together with Scott Borchetta, and they just got their record deal, and they blew up. The same guy that helped Taylor Swift become a huge thing. They chose us as direct support on their first tour, and they could have picked anyone. They could have had their choice, but because Colt had been so gracious to bring them out and kind of pump them up, we were on that tour. And also the direct support before us on the cruise tour was a guy named Dallas Austin. Now, I can't remember right now the group that Dallas Austin, the Canadian rock band that he had been the vocalist for. Please hit me in the comments and remind me. But he was also on the bill with us. And at the time, Florida Georgia Line was trying to give Dallas Austin a lift up and launch his country career. So you had you had on almost all the dates, you had Florida Georgia Line, you had Colt Ford, and you had Dallas Austin. And even on some dates, I believe there was like an acoustic opener. So that was the cruise tour. Now, playing drums for Dallas Austin at the time on that tour was Ryan Vikedal. And, I didn't even know, I didn't know who Dallas Austin was. I didn't know that Ryan Vikedal was the drummer for, Nickelback when they first blew up. And so at some point, our drummer, Tim Haynes, with Colt Ford, said, "Hey, man, that guy that's playing drums for Dallas Austin, he's the drummer from Nickelback, and they let him go, and he ended up getting a settlement with Nickelback, and they had to pay him because unlike being a sideman, where you're getting $300 a show or $500 a show or whatever your negotiated rate is, being in a rock band is a little bit more like being a member of a corporation." And so when they let him go, they basically, I believe he took them to court and received a settlement. And, so he was kind of set up to be okay in the future. And so, that was a good thing. But throughout the tour, we, gradually started hanging out more and more. And I started hanging out with Ryan, and, he was just a super fun guy. He was out there. I think I had heard a rumor that he basically helped Dallas Austin, gave them a place to rehearse, and agreed to go out on the tour for like $75 a show, just to get back out there and play, and just to kind of give him something to do, another taste of, playing arenas and all the stuff that he had with being with Nickelback. And so, like I said, we hung out on that tour. We partied together. We drank beers together. He was a hilarious guy and a great personality and super fun to be around. And so, later, those guys kind of went off and did their tour, and I continued on with Colt, and we played till probably, I think it was maybe mid-year 2014 or 2013. I can't remember exactly, but eventually I was let go. You get the call, and we've decided to go in a different direction. Okay, all right. So I ended up playing in B.B. King All-Stars, the house band at the B.B. King's in Nashville. And Ryan happened to be in Nashville with Dallas Austin playing a show, and he said, "Hey man, texted me, where you at, man? I'm gonna come see you play." So he came down to B.B. King's and saw me playing with the B.B. King All-Stars, and Tony Coleman on drums. And, we reconnected, and at some point, I don't know if it was before he came out or after it, but I said, "Hey man, I'm working on these songs, and, I'd like to get you, would you be interested in playing on this?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." And he had basically, now I know the timeline. So he had come to Nashville, played with Dallas, and I guess shortly after that had decided he'd had enough, and he didn't feel like Dallas was going to break in the U.S. And, he decided to pack it in. And he texted me and said, "Hey man, I'm off the road," and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, "Yeah, man, I get it. It's a tough life." And I told him, I said, "Hey man, I'm working on this project. I've got this singer that was on American Idol, Kendra Chantelle, and, I'm working on an album. Would you be into playing on this? How about, joining up with this?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." I sent him the tracks. I sent him like one track, and he played on it. It sounded great. And I'm like, man, this could really be something. We've got, me with my touring experience. We've got Ryan Vikedal from Nickelback and Dallas Austin. And then we've got Kendra Chantelle, who at the time was touring with Tom Heifer from Cinderella. And I'm like, man, this is almost like a mini supergroup. And so I kept writing material, and what I did is to keep kind of the uniform of the material and the writing kind of, on the same page. I pretty much wrote most of the songs, but everybody, got credit. Ryan got credit, Kendra got credit, and Kendra would change a word or two here or change a melody, and Ryan would, throw his 2 cents in. So it was a collaboration, but I did a lot of the writing. So we worked for about 2 years on this project called Stone Padre. And eventually, the album would be called El Camino, Stone Padre El Camino. And we probably wrote about 20 songs. And we did it the right way. That's really, when you got a band, you should always write more songs than you need. And then you could pick, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so we worked up, we picked the 10 songs. We made them as good as we could. Ryan, I gave him the choice of mixing. He was going to mix everything. And, we kind of co-produced the record. And, it was really a cool album and a great experience. And we shot a couple music videos. Ryan came to Nashville, and we all got together, and we got Paul Chapman, who at that point in time had left Colt Ford. He was the bass player for Colt Ford. And so he played on some of the tracks. And we shot a couple music videos in SIR in Nashville. And we really took a stab at launching this project. And we hoped that at the same time, about the time when we had finished mixing it and were getting ready to release it, Ryan Vikedal was appearing in the documentary for the Nickelback documentary that's currently out now. And I was like, man, this is a great opportunity. You need to be in this doc. And I said, if you can, plug the band, because ultimately we needed some kind of push, to get this thing off the ground. And, I don't know. I haven't seen the doc yet, so I don't know if that was even talked about or if it made it on the cutting room floor. Because let's face it, when you shoot video, a lot of it, and you appear in a documentary, most of it's going to end up on the cutting room floor. But we did the 2 videos, and we put out the album on CD Baby, and we started promoting the record. And by promoting, I was trying to get us on Spotify playlists, Spotify being the most powerful, platform out there. It was the biggest platform in the country or the world at that time. And so I started going on Fiverr, and I started finding these, get you on playlist and get your plays on, Spotify and all this stuff. And Ryan even, we both contributed to the budget to do this because, without it, man, without some kind of push, somehow, if you've released an album and, on one of those sites, it's like you get a dozen plays, you just don't get the push that the major labels have, because the major labels have access to Spotify and are able to say, hey, put us on your playlist. And I did everything I could to try to promote this project. We did reviews. There's people that paid reviewers, and we did everything we could to launch it. But eventually, tragedy struck, and Spotify decided to completely pull the album. And basically what had happened was one of these, people that I had paid on Fiverr to promote the album, well, they had been using some kind of bot or some way that they're generating plays, and it had tipped off Spotify, and Spotify completely pulled the album off Spotify. So you cannot listen to this album on Spotify, but you can listen to Stone Padre El Camino on YouTube and YouTube Music and Apple Music and a bunch of other sites out there. But man, that was just such a hard blow to face. We were trying so hard. We were trying to do this. We couldn't get the Nickelback guys to plug it for us online. And, it's just like we hit a serious wall. And, I reached out to Ryan and I told him what happened. And, he's like, man, that sucks. And I'm like, I know. And, at that point, he just decided, man, I'm out. And, it was a hard blow because we had really developed a serious friendship, producing and working on this project. It was almost like the thing that was keeping us alive, because I was doing my, typical gigs in Nashville with dreams of, hey, let's get something and blow it up. And Ryan was probably working with his businesses and things that he has going up in Canada. And Kendra was doing her, vocal lessons and touring with Tom Kiefer. But I always thought, man, it would have been a great thing to get this thing off the ground. But, Ryan stepped down, and then, we still had some songs in the can. And I was like telling Kendra, we don't have to quit. We don't have to stop. But, she never really would do anything to promote it. She'd never plug, anything online, and so now it's just me. And, my limited resources and limited income to promote this. And, I got so frustrated with it that it was like an unfriending moment with me and Kendra, because I had worked with her off and on over the years for probably a decade. And I was just so frustrated that, man, I put so much time and so much money into this, and it still to this day has not made the money that I put into it back. And it's two friends lost, and the project still exists. And I even put out a couple other singles, and with the project, and with Kendra's vocal, and some different drummers on it, Brian Tichy from Whitesnake and Billy Idol, and Roger Carter, my good friend out in LA. But the reality is, trying to get a project off the ground, and especially when you're just one person promoting it, man, it's next to impossible. But that's the story of how I ended up in a band with a guy from Nickelback. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Also, check out my Sweetwater and Amazon link in the video description, and anything you purchase will help me continue this channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.